What's going on? Welcome back to Mind Your Hormones. I am so pumped for today's episode because I know so many of you are in this space, whether you recently stopped birth control, whether you stopped birth control a few years ago, or maybe you're even on birth control and you're thinking about stopping. This is going to even help you because we are talking about 4 reasons why your period is off post birth control. A lot of people are learning about the negative effects of birth control, which I'm so freaking happy about. Maybe you're learning it from this podcast, maybe you're learning it from somewhere else, wherever it is. Don't even care where, as long as you're actually learning about it and you're wanting to stop birth control, whether that's the pill, the NuvaRing, the IUD, the shot, the injection, whatever it is. And people are just stopping without actually preparing their body, without knowing what can actually happen when you just do that. And then you're experiencing things like acne, or your period goes missing, or your trouble naturally conceiving, or whatever reason you went on birth control is coming back. Like, all these things are happening. So we are going to talk about 4 reasons why your period is off after you stop birth control. Again, that could be you just recently stopped or you stopped years ago. And of course, I'm also going to give you tips of how to support you through that, things you could do naturally to start healing yourself. Okay, so let's dive in. Number 1, which I just touched on, is if you didn't properly support your body before stopping birth control, it's going to have a negative effect on your body. And if you're like, wait, Corinne, what? I was supposed to do that? I was supposed to support myself before stopping birth control? Don't beat yourself up about it. We're never told to do this. For some reason, we don't view birth control like a medication, right? Like, you know, a lot of times if people are on anxiety medication or depression or even blood pressure medication or cholesterol medication, like whatever it is, we have this sense of like, oh, okay, we shouldn't just stop it without any preparation. You know, there's like weaning off of it. There's things to do before stopping. But with birth control, it's just like, yeah, whatever, just stop taking it. Yeah, you're good whenever the pack runs out, or just get it taken out. Like, it's no big deal. But it is a big deal because if you've been part of this podcast community for a while, you've heard me talk about how birth control has negative effects on your body that we're never told about. I had only gone on birth control for about a month at one point when, if you are new here, maybe you don't know, I had an irregular period for literally forever, my entire life up until I was 28 when I figured everything. No, not 28. Yeah, 28 when I figured everything out. Anyway, and then I went missing for 2 years, all the things. Of course, my doctor was just like, go on birth control, but I really wasn't interested in that. That's what kind of got me going down the natural route, went back to school for nutrition, figured it all out, all the things. But what I wasn't told when I was recommended for birth control, I wasn't told that it wasn't actually going to heal my irregular period. It was just going to put a Band-Aid on what was actually happening. It was just going to like literally silence the noise of what was actually happening in my body to make it look like everything was fine. But that's really not what's happening. It has a lot of negative effects on your body. I have a whole podcast episode on this, so I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of it. I will link that below if you haven't listened to that episode yet, because it's really, really important. You know, you could obviously read the inserts that are inside your birth control, which none of us do, because again, it's just not told. And of course, I believe in having, you know, the option for birth control. Like, I believe we deserve to have the right to have it, but I also believe in informed consent. And we are just not told, number 1, what it's doing to our body, some side effects that we should look out for to know that it actually is connected. I was actually just on a call, the Mind Your Hormones Method group call last night, and one of the women in the group was saying, she's like, I don't know, like, you know, ever since I got on the NuvaRing a year ago, I've been experiencing X, Y, and Z. Like, for example, she was experiencing low sex drive, dry skin and hair, all these quote unquote random symptoms. And she's like, I don't know, is it just coincidence or is it related? I'm like, it's 100% related. Like, we should know about this. So anyway, go check out that episode that I did talking all about what birth control actually does in your body. I'll link that below. But the point of this step that I'm talking about is a reason your period could be off post birth control is because you didn't properly support your body before stopping. If there isn't any preparation before stopping to support yourself, to repair some of the negative effects that it causes on your nutrient stores, because it depletes you of nutrients, how it negatively impacts your gut and your liver and your thyroid and your nervous system, your period will be affected. Your whole menstrual cycle, the whole kit and caboodle, is going to be affected because your hormones are connected to everything. If your gut is messed up, if your liver is messed up, if you don't have proper nutrients and therapeutic range because they were depleted from the pill or from the NuvaRing or whatever you're on, then it's of course going to have an effect on our period, right? So that could be one of the reasons why your period is off post birth control. And if you're like, holy shit, Corinne, I did not prepare my body, what am I going to do? we will talk about, I have another podcast episode fully dedicated to that, but I'm also going to talk about tips at the end to help support you. Okay. We're just going to go through the reasons first, and then I'm going to give you some tips. So that is reason number one. Number two is the reason you maybe went on birth control in the first place is now coming back to the surface. Again, like I said in the beginning, if you went on birth control because your period was irregular, or it was missing, or you had acne, or you have PCOS or endometriosis, or you just like were continuously bleeding and it wasn't stopping, or it was really, really heavy or really, really painful. All of these are reasons that people get put on birth control, maybe for cysts or whatever is actually going on. Okay. This is what our doctors recommend instead of actually looking at the human as a whole and being like, okay, let's look at your nutrition. What are you eating? Let's look at your lifestyle. Let's look at some supplementation. Let's look at some herbs we could incorporate. Like, this is just not the approach that's really going on. So instead, they will just recommend birth control. You take it, and it's not actually healing the problem, like I just said. So unfortunately, we're told that birth control will regulate our period, that birth control will get rid of the cramps, that birth control will stop the acne. Now, it might look like it's doing that, because if you're like, well, Corinne, I was bleeding every month, like clockwork, when I was on the pill, and my acne did go away. It might look like that's what's actually happening, but it's really just putting a Band-Aid on the root cause and masking the symptoms. You're not even getting a true period when you're on birth control. It's just a withdrawal bleed from the medication. So you're not truly ovulating. The communication from your ovaries to your brain is no longer happening. So you're not actually ovulating when you're on the pill, the NuvaRing, the injection. Some IUDs you can ovulate, sometimes you don't. So that's like, it depends. So you're not actually getting a real period. So it's not regulating your period. It's also not healing the acne. What it's doing is lowering your testosterone levels, which is also why you could experience low sex drive and dry skin with it. So that's why it looks like you're not actually having any acne anymore, because it's lowering your testosterone levels. It's also lowering your sebum production, which is why if you don't do any preparation and you stop, all of it can come rushing back, right? It's not getting rid of your cramps. It's just turning off your menstrual cycle. So this is one of the problems that, it might look like it's doing these things, but it's really just putting a Band-Aid on it. And once you take the Band-Aid off, the underlying imbalance will resurface, and your body's just too smart for a fake out like that. So either it's going to resurface the same way that it was when you went on, or it could come back worse. Or if you're someone who went on birth control just for contraceptive reasons, these things can now just start happening because of the negative effects that happened in your body. Okay. So that is number two reason why your period might be off post birth control. Now, the third reason is, which we touched on a second ago, you're lacking the nutrients needed for ovulation. Your ovaries need specific nutrients to actually ovulate. If your ovaries are not getting those nutrients, it's not going to be able to ovulate, which means you're not going to actually be getting a period, because a true period is when you go through all four phases of the menstrual cycle: the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, the luteal phase, and then the menstrual phase. If you're not ovulating, you're not getting a true period. Okay. So specifically, the nutrients that are needed for ovulation and that are depleted by the pill is zinc, B vitamins, and magnesium. Again, maybe your doctor didn't tell you that the pill depletes you of zinc, B vitamins, and magnesium, but it does. And these nutrients are needed for your ovaries to function properly and for your body to function in an optimal way. If these nutrients are depleted, your cycle, your fertility, your energy, your moods, all of it is going to be affected. And like I touched upon, which actually we're going to actually get to the next one, because this also has to do with your gut as well. So the third thing is you're lacking nutrients needed for ovulation, which is why it's so freaking important to make sure that you are on a proper supplement protocol at least 4 weeks before stopping birth control. Again, I talk more about this in the episode of how to support your body before stopping birth control. I'll link also below the episode about what birth control is actually doing in your body, and if you already stopped, what to do now. So we'll link those in the show notes for you if you haven't already listened to them, because they're really, really, really important. Okay. So we talked about number one is you didn't properly support yourself before stopping. Number two, the reason you went on birth control is now resurfacing. Number three, you're lacking nutrients needed for ovulation. And number four, your gut is jacked up. Okay. So like I mentioned earlier, the pill, just like any medication, negatively impacts your gut. And your gut is the center of everything, literally the center of everything in your body. It's also where we absorb nutrients. So like I just said before, Number one, the pill depletes you of nutrients, but also birth control negatively impacts your gut. So if your gut is negatively impacted and the good and bad bacteria in your microbiome, if that's what your microbiome is, the environment with where the good and bad bacteria are, if that's off and you're unable to actually have a healthy environment, you're not going to even be able to absorb nutrients. Even if you're taking supplementation, if your gut is jacked up, you're not going to be able to actually absorb it. You're not what you eat and what you consume, you're what you can actually absorb, okay? So this is where your gut is where you absorb nutrients, and it's where you expel excess hormones and toxins and metabolic waste through your poop out of the body. So if your gut is jacked up, you're not going to be able to properly absorb the nutrients needed for your menstrual cycle to thrive. And it also won't be able to expel these excess hormones or toxins out of your body, causing imbalances because it recirculates back into your body. So this is twofold. If your gut is messed up, you're not going to be able to absorb nutrients that you need to actually ovulate. And part two of that is you're not going to be able to actually expel excess hormones and the synthetic hormones that were in your body from the hormonal birth control and metabolic waste and toxins out of your body through poop, which means it's recirculating back in the body, causing imbalances. And this imbalance can look like an irregular period, a missing period, heavy periods, painful periods and cramps, PMS, like migraines, acne, all the mood swings, all of these symptoms that could be happening could be linked back to your gut. It is a real ripple effect. Okay. So these are the 4 reasons that could be causing some issues that you're having post-birth control, post-birth control. Now, if you're like, okay, Corinne, that makes sense. I got it. What am I supposed to do now? Because, I'm not going to leave you hanging and freaking out like, OMG, what am I supposed to do? So number one, we need to support any nutrient deficiencies you have. The way to do that, of course, I have a full supplement training. If you're in the Mind Your Hormones method, you get the supplement training with it. Okay. But you could also purchase the supplement training on its own if you want. It's $111. I'll put that link in the show notes. I have different supplement protocols specifically for if you're on birth control and you want to learn how to safely stop, or if you already stopped and you want to do damage control. I have specific protocols on improving your fertility and supporting yourself through pregnancy, for PCOS, for painful periods, and just for overall cyclical health and wellness. Okay. So there's all these different protocols in there. You get lifetime access to it. It's amazing. But anyway, that is linked below. But where you can start, if you're like, I don't really want to get the training right now, I just want to know where to start. Where to start is getting a high quality multivitamin or high quality prenatal if you're someone who is going to start trying to conceive in the next 6 months or less. Okay. Which, little caveat on that, if you are someone who does have an irregular period right now, I would really suggest holding off on the conception process until your period is regulated out for at least 3 to 4 months. Because when your period is irregular, you're not producing progesterone consistently, because in order to produce progesterone, you have to ovulate. And progesterone is the sex hormone that holds onto and nourishes a pregnancy. So you want to have a few consistent regular periods where you are consistently producing good progesterone levels before you start to try to get pregnant, because the goal isn't just to get pregnant, it's to stay pregnant and have a healthy pregnancy. And you need healthy progesterone levels to do that. So that's just a little side note, is to really make sure that your period is regulated out for like at least 3 to 4 months before you start actually trying to conceive. Okay. But if you're in that space and you're trying to conceive in the next 6 months or less, instead of a high quality multivitamin, you want to do a high quality prenatal. The high quality multivitamin that I recommend is One Multi by Pure Encapsulations. I'll put the link for full script dashboard. You can get that below. And then for the prenatal, I love Needed Prenatal, freaking obsessed. You could use code Corinne to save, I think it's 10% or 15%. I think it's 10%. I can't remember, but I'll put it all below for the Needed Prenatal. Obsessed. And again, if you want the full protocol, you could check out the supplement training. Okay. So that's number one, supporting any nutrient deficiencies you have. Number two is nourishing your gut. And the way that you could do this is having a lot of fibrous beans specifically. And because this not only helps your gut, but it also helps your blood sugar and your liver, which are also negatively impacted by the pill and by birth control in general. So we like to do things that hit a bunch of different areas in your body. So one simple step can help you in multiple different ways. So having more beans specifically is really important because it has soluble fiber, which is going to grab onto the excess hormones, synthetic hormones, toxins, metabolic waste, get it out of the body. It's also going to help stabilize your blood sugar. It's going to really feed the good bacteria in your gut. It's going to help your liver actually metabolize and detoxify these excess hormones, all the things. Okay. So how can you incorporate more beans, black beans, chickpeas, lentils, pinto beans, kidney beans, like whatever. Okay. Swap out a meat meal for beans. Easy way to do it. Throw some beans on a salad, throw them with some sweet potatoes, have like a Mexican night. And instead of chopped meat in your tacos, have beans, like such an easy way to get them in. Okay. So having more fibrous beans, vegetables in general, you could do this by starting every meal with a salad. You could do this by having more veggies on your plate than anything else. You could have a smoothie. So many different ways to get vegetables in, and healthy fats, which we talk about a lot in this podcast too. That is what actually nourishes your gut lining and helps rebuild the gut lining and reduces inflammation. So this could look like a half an avocado with lunch, a half an avocado with dinner, some chia seeds or flax seeds or hemp seeds with your breakfast. Like making sure you're getting about 2 tablespoons of a healthy fat with every single meal is really going to support your inflammation levels, your gut, your nervous system. Again, when we support one thing, we support everything. So it's going to support you in multiple different ways. So that is number 2. Number 1 is supporting your nutrient deficiencies, high quality multi or prenatal, which you could check the link below for that. Number 2 is nourishing your gut with some beans, veggies, and healthy fats. And number 3, and most freaking importantly, is identifying your root cause and healing your imbalances naturally. Okay. Healing your imbalances naturally. I have a full free training on this. If you're interested in this, it's totally free. It goes through all the different signs and symptoms of hormone imbalances. It goes through the major root causes of hormone imbalances, and then it gives you steps to begin healing. So if you want that, the link is below. It's completely free. It's about a 30-minute training. You could go check that out. And of course, I've talked about this 100 times. The Mind Your Hormones method is where we dive deep into each of these root causes. There's a module on each root cause. We're really learning how to address that and heal it naturally. And you could create a hormone healthy lifestyle that is always available for you to hop in. You could purchase the curriculum alone and go through it on by yourself. You could purchase it with group coaching calls, like all the things. Okay. So all the links for this will be below, but it is vital that you are addressing the root cause of where these imbalances are coming from. Again, the major root causes that I talk about in this free training and that we dive deep into in the Mind Your Hormones method are nutrient deficiencies, inflammation and gut issues, your nervous system is jacked up, blood sugar dysregulation, and liver detoxification problems. These are the major root causes. Now, if you're like, Corinne, how do I know which one? Go watch the free training, number 1, but also it almost, not that it doesn't matter which one that it is, but when you've been having these issues for a while, our hormones are a domino effect. Your body is all connected. So when one thing is off, it's eventually going to lead to everything else, which is why I'm such a proponent of focusing on all of the root causes so that your body can begin to heal. And I just want you to know that like it is 1,000,000% possible for you to, number 1, get your cycle back. If I could do it, and I was someone who had 3 to 4 periods a year for over a decade and then literally 0 period for 2 years. If I could regulate it out and get pregnant on the first try with PCOS, you can do this. Okay. It's 1,000% possible for you to have a regular period, to have a pain-free, normal regular period, to change your fertility. Like the steps that I'm teaching you in this free training, in the Mind Your Hormones method, by looking at this supplement training, all of these things directly affect your period in a positive way, and you will see change because of it, because your body is designed to heal and thrive. And once it gets what it needs, that's exactly what it's going to do. Okay. So know this is possible for you. I hope this episode was helpful for you. Please share this with anybody who you know that is on birth control, that recently stopped birth control, that's struggling with their period or their fertility. This is really going to help them. All the resources that I talked about will be in the show notes. All the links to the further episodes I was talking about are going to be in the show notes. You could check those out there. Please let me know what you thought of this episode. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being on this journey with me. I just love it so freaking much. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon.